It's 6 in the evening. You close your laptop feeling scraped hollow, as if you've spent the day digging ditches. But when you look back at the hours, there was no brutal deadline and no all-nighter. Just a handful of messages and a document you opened and closed 4 times without finishing. Most of us process this specific exhaustion as a personal verdict. We tell ourselves we're losing our edge, or getting lazy, or that we simply can't hack the pressure anymore. However, a growing body of research suggests this fatigue follows a pattern that has very little to do with the volume of work. Instead, it points toward a much more elusive factor, one that suggests the why and how of our tasks might be more draining than the tasks themselves. This helps explain why, even with 2/3 of workers reporting burnout, the standard prescriptions of meditation and long weekends rarely seem to stick. These are temporary fixes for a condition we haven't quite named yet. To find a real cure, we have to move past personal wellness and look at the structural confusion built into the modern office. We have to identify the specific type of stress that is actually doing the damage. A team of researchers led by Gargi Sani at Auburn University spent years assembling one of the largest pictures of workplace stress ever recorded. They analyzed 6 decades of data drawn from over 800,000 working people. This study split workplace stress into 3 distinct categories: role overload, which is the classic too much work scenario; role conflict, where competing priorities pull you in opposite directions; and role ambiguity, the foggy experience of not knowing what success even looks like. While our culture treats overload as the primary driver of burnout, the data showed that role ambiguity had the strongest negative impact on performance and job satisfaction. The vagueness of a role turned out to be more corrosive than the actual workload. This leads to a deeper question. Why would simple confusion be more taxing than hard effort? The answer lies in how our brains are wired to prioritize safety. At its core, the brain functions as a prediction machine, constantly scanning the environment to figure out what happens next. When a path is unclear, the brain registers that uncertainty as a low-grade threat. It can't relax, so it keeps the nervous system switched on all day, scanning for danger, second-guessing choices, and rehearsing conversations. You aren't lifting anything heavy, but you are never allowed to put the mental weight down. This perpetual vigilance is what creates that physical tiredness. When the brain cannot predict what good looks like, it burns through its energy reserves just trying to survive the day. 3 modern shifts are currently thickening this fog. First, the return to office churn has broken many unwritten norms. When the rules about where decisions are made keep changing, employees spend their days guessing instead of acting, and guessing is exhausting. Second, the rise of artificial intelligence is automating tasks faster than managers can update job descriptions. People often find their roles have shifted under their feet, leaving a massive gap between their official title and their actual daily reality. Finally, the aftermath of layoffs often leaves the remaining staff to quietly absorb the work of departed colleagues. You end up managing multiple sets of responsibilities with no new authority or clear boundaries, effectively doing 3 half-defined jobs at once. This ambiguity hits the most conscientious workers the hardest. While a coaster might not mind a vague role, top performers are tormented by it. They lie awake trying to reverse engineer a standard of excellence that was never actually given to them. By ignoring these blurred lines, companies don't just lose efficiency. They quietly exhaust their most committed people until those people eventually hand in their notice, leaving leadership to wonder what went wrong. Because this exhaustion is structural, working longer hours will not solve it. In fact, pouring more effort into an undefined role often creates more uncertainty, as you still won't know if that extra effort is actually being measured. Each stressor requires a specific cure. Role overload needs physical rest. Role conflict needs a realignment of priorities. But role ambiguity can only be solved through clarity, establishing the hard boundaries that allow the brain to stop scanning for threats. The first move is to ask for a measurable target. In 6 months, what would you need to see to know I'm doing this job well? This forces the invisible standards out of a manager's head and puts them where you can both see them. Second, explicitly map out your decision rights. Ask which calls are yours to make and which require approval. Once the lane is marked, you can act with confidence instead of hovering over every choice in a state of background anxiety. Third, send a short follow-up after these conversations to summarize what you agreed on. This protects that newfound clarity from memory drift, ensuring that today's alignment doesn't dissolve back into next month's misunderstanding. Many people fear that asking these questions will make them look incompetent, but in a professional environment, clarity reads as competence. The truly lost are the ones nodding along in silence while they slowly burn out. The bone-deep tiredness you feel at the end of the day is a biological signature. It is the physical evidence of a role that was never clearly drawn, indicating your brain has been working overtime just to find its bearings. This exhaustion is the natural byproduct of a gap in job design. By naming the fog and establishing clear boundaries, you can stop blaming your character for a problem that belongs to the architecture of the work itself.